The Movie Club movies. Tonight's feature, MOTORAMA, 1991. MOTORAMA is a Planet Films. Never heard of it at the time. Never heard of that since. I love the MOTORAMA marquee. It's sort of a T2 font type, like Terminator 2. It's steel. It's like Shaq Diesel, sturdy, macho, mechanical graphic type. It looks pretty cool. MOTORAMA is written by Joseph Minion, who wrote After Hours. Scorsese directed that. MOTORAMA stars Canadian Jordan Christopher Michael as Gus. This kid came out of nowhere. I don't know who he is. He's known for this movie. DrewBarrymore in an early role, actually so early that she hasn't become a star, past her E.T. and other young professional roles. We know she hosted Saturday Night Live as a young person. That was definitely something that she was famous for just prior to this. Dick Miller, a Movie Club movie's favorite, as Father in the Woods. Robert Picardo as Jerry, we know from Total Recall. Burbs. Garrett Morris as Andy. We know Garrett Morris is a SNL legend. He's also in Two Broke Girls and The Stuff. Jack Nance as motel clerk. We know him, he's famous for starring in David Lynch films and even Jim Jarmusch films. One of my favorite, cameo gems, not really cameo, I shouldn't say that, hidden gems of an actor is FLEA from the band Red Hot Chili Peppers. He is an actor. Sometimes it seems like a cameo because he's just such a known rock and roller. But he's the busboy. MichaelJPollard, we know from Scrooged, Roxanne, Tango and Cash. MarthaQuinn, who when I went down a rabbit hole on Wiki, I saw this article title in the sources. Jane Bryant and MarthaQuinn, two women who have made it in a business where mother and daughter families are as rare as white peacocks. This was written in 1986 in the Christian Science Monitor. I'm just talking about the title. I saw it on the wiki page. Some of her information on her biography and such was pulled possibly from that article. What a title for an article. Mary Woronov as kidnapping wife, and we know her from our movie we covered, Night of the Comet, the hero scientist. Of course, I even mentioned her past experiences as I did for Dick Miller. Listen to our past episodes. Keep up, guys. Our original showing of the Movie Club Movies Movie Night was in September 21st of 2014. It most likely was in a double feature with MANNEQUIN. I don't necessarily remember that night and all the excitement because I actually was surprised at how early on that we did a showing of this when I tracked all that info down. I can add to this picture that we were doing showings about every 2 weeks, maybe twice a month. We'd have 2 double features, and here and there were some gaps. But around this time, there was probably another showing a couple or a few weeks from September 21st. And I will just say, I know who recommended this movie to me. I want to give a shout out. Scranton told me about MOTORAMA, and I tracked down some of the emails that I was sending out at that time, and he couldn't make it. And I think, I remember I was excited that when somebody suggests something and then they're invited to the showings, and there was 20 or 30 people there, and a lot of them were my friends, and a lot of them were the neighborhood neighbors. I just thought that was so fun, but my friend couldn't show up. But I would just mention, I do think along my way, maybe it had been mentioned before, I tracked some of the research I do is I'm able to see, what did it play, where was it at in the 90s? And it was on IFC, and I, out of the randomness of cable, for whatever, like 3 summers, we had an IFC. It felt very special because that was a full-on movie channel at the time, and it was coming in on our budget set. But I saw a lot of movies that way. I have a good memory, and I'm not trying to brag, but I am trying to cite my sources. Not that this is a legitimate source, just memory. But Just is never going to steer you wrong when I'm talking serious about these movies. I remember that there were several times you turn on IFC and you would see a part of a movie, and like watching Die Hard or Total Recall or Roadhouse, when you catch a part of the movie, you may stay for the next 13 minutes and then go back to your errand or what have you. But at the same time, with IFC, those 13 minutes, you may be like, okay, a single mother on Mars, but it looks like an office building. What was that movie? And for 13 years after 13 minutes of that movie, you are searching for who was that? Was that Susan Sarandon? No. Was it Parker Posey? No. And then you're telling people at the restaurant you work at, if you remember a Mars movie where there was a bartender, but it's an astronaut who's taking a baby fetus up to Mars, and he's got gold bricks he's bringing. Like, what the heck is going on? It was probably MOTORAMA. The movie starts. We are sawing, we are preparing something, a trash argument is happening, controlling demand, violent threats, paranoid arguments, mean, awful threats. Pedals. Our hero, a young man, is at the bank. Babysitter's dead. A don't tell mom. The babysitter's dead like receptionist. A bank teller. MTV's MarthaQuinn, which we're referencing with that lengthy article title I mentioned at the beginning of the show, is looking at his backpack of rolled coins. She's saying, this will take hours. Just because you put them into little rolls doesn't mean it won't take time. Then it will take hours. I commend him on his patience. I think some of this is the thesis for this narrative. I think I have also experienced this, being broke with rolls of coins at the bank. It's embarrassing, and sometimes it's more of a task than you thought it was going to be. We were doing 55 somewhere in Arizona, America's flatland. We are driving a 65 Mustang red hat, green hoodie, American Apparel Beastie Boy, icon. Beat it, kid. He stops for coffee. One of my favorite questions is to ask, how did you get the money for a hot cherry ride like that outside? I asked just like that and then followed it up with, who does your taxes, and let me see your resume. So, only one question, the other is more of a demand. But I mean it, damn it. How does he answer? Why, don't really care about that, do you? We see Gus scuttering under cars in the parking lot. I would really like to know. I sold my stamp collection. This isn't really for kids. This is not really for old guys. It's for war vets. I had them since I was a kid. Awkward, sweat, dip onto paw. Don't ever get married. He sold his stamp collection. Pool players break. Coffee break with an Italian picnic table cloth pattern and a Dear Alice diner waitress. Coffee is served. Gus leaves nickels. Does not drink coffee. I would at least brought the cup while I was walking, maybe take it. But it's a movie, and the waitress yells to the troublemakers. Okay, let's take that over again with this precursor. Okay, guys, this movie starts off almost like art house or like student film style. It is cool as the total package will come together, but these beginning scenes, it is like choppy. Like what I'm going to tell you are just bits and pieces of what this young man is doing, and it will add up to a little bit more as I round it out, but I'll sound like an AI robot. But one of my favorite questions is to ask, how did you get the money for a hot cherry ride like that outside? I ask just like that, and then I follow it up with, who does your taxes, and let me see your resume. So I guess only one question, and the other is more of a demand. But I mean it, damn it. How does he answer? Why, don't really care about that, do you? We see Gus scuttering under cars in the parking lot. And these are the scenes that are starting to get choppy. I would really like to know, I sold my stamp collection. This isn't for kids, and this isn't really for old guys. It's for war vets. I had them since I was a kid. He's kind of like filling somebody in, and we're seeing some troublemakers. There's awkward sweat drip onto his paw. Don't ever get married. He sold his stamps collection. Pool players break. This pool player has kind of like asked him that question and come back to the pool. It's almost like the early drunks, or of course these are the local yokels. These guys go there every day, and Mr. Nobody is a new body, and they're treating him like an adult, which is cool, but Gus is obviously awkward, doesn't feel comfortable. He leaves nickels. He does not drink his coffee. I would have at least brought the cup while I was walking, maybe taking it to my car. But it's a movie, and the waitress yells at the troublemakers. Gus had switched license plates in the shadows. That's why it's tough to follow if you verbalize what's going on screen. Mustang peels out. Two backwoods troublemakers are seen carrying a guy out of the back of where we just were, or a shed, past a big boy, in again. Joe Pesci's Nevada landscape, where bodies go to become golf course fertilizer, a desolate desert. An unconscious old man, white-haired man, being dragged to a stream. They swing him like a bag of mulch potatoes into the whizzing water. We are back with Gus as he is whizzing again.
Dr. Gunther, Terry Kaiser, was he whizzing at the end of Tammy and the T-Rex? I think I saw that he was.
Check out that episode with guest host Emily. Gus gets back into the Mustang, a pilot again, and navigate himself and his booster wooden handmade booster lift pedals for acceleration and braking. Where are we going yet? I don't know. We know he has some trouble in his fam life. He's looking fool's gold maybe. He's looking for Petro. One and the same. I just don't know yet. Let's go fly a kite, shall we? We meet our first co-star and good-hearted character, John Deal, as Phil. From the Phil station. And from so many movies, this guy gives me Toby Huss vibes. He's a chameleon character actor, a short list. He's in the Rat Pack, Stripes, Jurassic Park 3, and I want to note Pearl Harbor because he can be that guy from 19 whatever America. You know what I mean? Like, he just could be like 1950s, 1980s. Be Fulfilled is printed on a banner across the pumps behind in the background. Are you fulfilled? Are you fur-filled? Are you plant-based? Base God? There is a front yard decoration. Deer holding a kite. Okay? Like maybe the deer, you might see them in the front yards or yards of people. And of course the antlers make to hold a string around its antlers. Phil tells us it needs more string, and Gus talks small town, small talk. Looks good to me, leans up against the sun-bright stang, looks ahead towards the kite in the sky. Phil says the town's sheriff took a picture of him holding the kite, and the picture might be shown at local drive-in. Can you imagine? I once had my art show in a Los Angeles bowling alley, I guess in a drive-in style. It was like they had screens. I think they might have had a main screen. I don't know. Either way, I remember it was screens at the end of every aisle. Good times. Los Angeles! Remember our local hero friend from the payphone Martin Harvey uses in Captain Ron? That's small town. Phil wonders, me shaking hands with a policeman before the screenings? I'm skeptical. Would I want to see that before my movies? But he's a simple guy. Phil's proud, his face is gleaming, and as an actor, this guy's crushing it out of the town's Little League park here. Says it will be good for business. Says I'm not crooked. Phil continues his simpleness. Says it will be good for business. Says I'm not crooked. Say you're kinda short. I got bigger plans than that. He's still talking about his picture being shown at the movie theater, and he's just continuing without any reply from Gus. I mean, I took that picture right back, because there's only one person all this matters. The one. He looks above the kite. Gus remembers he gets the game pieces with every station visit. Phil is already on the phone. Alone at the station, he looks puzzled about the dang game pieces. And this is like one of the first, this is the first time these game pieces are being shown and things like this. We haven't noticed it. There might be a glimpse of such a thing in those cuts. But here is a main point to pivot on. Phil and Gus formally meet. Because of $5 gas purchase, he is entitled to game pieces. When was the last time you handed them out? I don't know. Keep an eye on my kite, will ya? A couple maps? This is Mercer. Enter Robert Picardo as police officer. Check, voice, check. There may be some humming from appliances. They handshake, and we get a peek at the actual picture Phil's been so excited about, rambling on this entire time. Phil goes to fill up. The police officer checks out Gus's Mustang. Looking through the window, Phil distracts him. Gus has found a tobacco game pieces. Got any cheese puffs, Phil? Okay, like I am wanting Gus to grab all the game pieces and head out of there. Get away from these fools and drive the speed limit. My gosh. Gus stuffs the inside of his hoodie with a handful of cards. Phil starts back to the station. Gus is looking a bit like Richard the Jinx trying to exit this convenience store. Phil's pissed off. You lied to an officer of the law. I'm underage, damn it. I'm 10 fucking years old. Gus confronts Phil with the idea that this officer, much like the pool player, was like, nice wheels, where'd you get them? You know, where's your parents? So at points, I'm thinking, does everybody see him as an adult animal? You know what I mean? Like in Paddington or something. It's like, does everybody see him as a bear or as an adult? And as an adult, they can do no wrong. And this police officer does not. The pool player, you know, he was cloudy or something. He was half a gallon of whiskey and just, I don't know. But the police officer knows a little bit. But at the same time, this is sort of a fantasy movie, and no one ever really is on the level with who this person is. And at times, if I didn't say it in an intro, it's a little bit like apocalyptic, where everything is just a wasteland except where we're going and where we're navigating. Let's continue to navigate. We're not getting any cheese puffs just sticking around here. They're chums again. Phil's dedicated and Gus loosens the string to a kite as it flies off and Phil runs to catch it. shouting, "Lordy obscenities!" Gus has a game to win, and these local chumps are not going to get in his way. Phil runs smack into an oncoming truck. "Gus, radio, highway to hell, and a belly full of the MOTORAMA game car." First rest stop, we meet Nance as hotel front desk clerk. He's famous for being in David Lynch films and kind of being an odd job of a guy. Look him up to find more about his story. He's definitely a weirdo in this one. He has to check if this kid has a girl with him. No go. Gus gets to his game pieces. 500 million. Peel off the metallic particles. Peel off the metallic game pieces. Peel off the metallic circles. Peel off the metallic circles containing text that spell out MOTORAMA. All ages. Never expire. Creepy desk clerk. If you catch any squirrels, give 'em to me. Blue M and an eventually a pink M on this round. Frustrated, Gus looks in the mirror and is dressed like a suited kid, a baby boss. Did you think it would be easy? Waking the next morning, we see the desk clerk gassing animals with his truck exhaust. This dude's crazy. He's sick. He is dressed in the 80s. He is dressed in 80s baseball catcher pads and is going in with a rake to taunt the squirrels. He says next gas station is 10 miles from here. 10 miles. Great scenery, New Mexico. Gus ducks for the police officer and keeps heading down the road and out of town. A sightseeing stop, typical 80s teens, a burger side cart. The teen couple ask to use his Mustang to make it. And like a Levi's Calvin Klein commercial, they get it good. And Gus has found another letter, a green O. He's just chilling. He's really focused on these game pieces, and he kind of is like around like an active sort of, it almost feels beachy, and there literally are two, I don't know, sort of headless teens, like the camera is focused on Gus and people are passing, including these two teens, and they are like together and they're like, "Can we borrow this car?" I mean, it's like completely baffling. It's sensational for a VHS tape, and it is like a graphic novel, a comic. It's like an underground zine. It's something different. It's odd. It's sweaty. And I don't know, maybe Gus shouldn't have any part of this type of function, although that's the type of weird movie this is. And nobody's really getting hurt in this moment. Okay, this scene was shot very technically well. Both people are very handsome and photogenic. Shots of his body along with hers. And the denim and car seat all mixes well. And he heads out. Does he know someone boned in the back? He takes a turn and gets a flat. Garrett Morris and character legend MichaelJPollard are working a gas station from Corvette Summer. A tire doctor takes a look at the wheel. Garrett Morris is in a lot of B movies. He's out there, and I think The Stuff. MichaelJPollard is in Scrooged, and he's also been in some different B movies. I also feel like he is a Superman villain somewhere out there in that universe. I have not gone down that path to find that role. I think I was a little kid and saw him in something that was Superman based. If you know what that is, feel free to hit the comments up. Andy and Lewis, carburetor specialists. And I think there's a play on the names there, and this is definitely something that happened in the 80s and 70s and whatever. It's lame. I didn't get it as a kid. I love when podcasts I listen to are mentioning about, you know, who would know who Elvis is in 1983 as like a 6-year-old, and it's like, yeah, there's a lot of those type of references. If you're not familiar with these, it's okay to pass them up. I mean, I guess it's interesting to find out who Elvis is, but there are a lot of references that never make any sense and don't matter as a kid, and you don't know what the heck they're talking about. You're just trying to watch your fun stuff. But I guess it's a Shrek thing where it's like supposed to be fun for the adults. Although my parents, they didn't pick up on a lot of references, and they were like, whatever, we weren't Elvis fans, pass, next, whatever. Do you guys have those things in movies? I hear it a lot on the podcasts I listen to, so I think a lot of people are on that level. Gus has such nice combed to the side hair right now. And for $30, they give you a whole box full. Smiles. He plays MOTORAMA. He starts to examine. He's asking about if the letters are the same at every location. And Garrett, as Andy, says, I don't know. People don't play that game anymore. So again, there's that time flux. When is it? And if you're not following along with the movie, it's just that, like Garrett Morris has like noticed that Gus is obsessed, so he's already just sitting in the car, taking off more circles of these game cards, and Garrett, being inquisitive, is talking to him about it. Thankfully, he gives us a little bit of information, no matter how timeless this movie is. Gus asks a great question about if they're the same cluster of game pieces at every location, and he has no info, but he's like, doesn't seem to be a trend to play that game anymore. And that might be a warning sign. Do you continue playing a game if you may not get your free box of cereal if you play it? But it's a great fantasy movie, and we're going to continue. Much as life, right? He is playing the game, pulled over to the side of the road again. Police pulls over, and Gus plays it cool. My dad's taking a whiz again. This is great pacing, in my opinion, and the way I see this movie. And it is one of those movies, we've already got some scenery, we're out on location, we're road tripping. A lot of people might cite, we've got an American car, American muscle. That's a lot of tokens for popularity, at least in the Western Hollywood is concerned. But we are on the road again, and this is one of those scenes where we are going into this movie. Gus is pulling off this acting job. I'm loving it. So has the cop and the hotel clerk all seen the extended pedals? We don't find that out. He shakes it off. He heads out on the road again, confidently. We see a montage now of gas, dollars, and game cards, game pieces. Lots of blue letter M's, just to keep you all updated, all right? Another technical note is that this looks like a Levi's, Cola, Guess, or like Playboy Playmate calendar video. Super duper. Do you know what I mean? Like, think about the 90s graphic design, and I don't know if it's probably tough to get stuff that's in print, but if you're at a thrift store and you see something that's like 90s advertising for like Levi's or Coca-Cola, you're probably not going to get like Playboy, but it's out there where there's just that. I wonder if the same firms were handling these, because as I went and graduated through art school, it is interesting that like what I just mentioned, those brands, they did have sort of a feel to them. And I'm boldly saying Playboy, when you saw something with Playboy on it, there was calendars, there was books at the bookstore, you could pass by that table easily, no nudity, but the graphic design, I read it for the graphic design. No, I can't afford that stuff. I got myself into a hole now, but I'm getting out of this by saying I'm talking about the graphic design. Check it out. Check out some Guess. Check out some Levi's. Check out some boobies. I don't care. You're an adult. We are driving. Billboards are passing. And he gets a letter. Violet A. He pulls over at like a family pizza shack. And he sees a family of punk-ass Groucho Marx glass-wearing kids. It's strange, but this movie plays on that fantasy, and also I think it's like not missing opportunities to be like, I don't know, maybe the kids got these like from winning tickets or just for coming in and being kids, but at the same time it's a fantasy movie, and we don't know why these people have these fake Groucho Marx glasses on. We don't know why the hotel clerk is obsessed with squirrels. And we don't know why FLEA is the way FLEA is in this movie when we get to him. I thought of Pink Floyd lyrics, all in, all we are, just another brick in the wall. Griffin Dunne is very observant in After Hours. The dude Gus is eating off a paper plate, which looks to be barbecue, baked beans, lettuce, a lemon slice, catered pizza. Who made those paper plates, I wonder?
Sizemore, paper plates of food.
You like t-shirts, and you're looking for ways to support small businesses and unique makers, providing good vibes into every item and sustainable efforts. Look into tpublic.com/user/TMCMS for official The Movie Club Movies podcast merch, designed by a local maker, a small business, graphic design baker. tpublic.com/user/TMCMS for merch. He looks in his wallet for cash. Outside the store, he sees a couple. We're about to get dark. Gus asks FLEA where to get the glasses. They live over there. Gus pays for the glasses out of what looks like an old cigarette machine. By now, the couple has ordered and sat down with their food. Gus is in FLEA's way. He turns and sees FLEA taking his plate of food into the trash. Gosh. Cut to FLEA and Gus discussing a prank, perhaps. I need a can. I need a hose. I don't think that will be right. And then Gus shows him a cash. And FLEA changes to be like, oh... It's amazing. And I say a cash because it's just generic money. We're not seeing what nation this is. We're in Mercer, or that's where we were at one point. Gus wears the glasses. These are Groucho Marx, nose with a bushy mustache, and just black frame glasses. In the day, they would definitely symbolize comedic take on something. Maybe someone wants to say a few statements. They might put that on in a commercial, cartoon, comedy show. Everybody would have a impression of comic legend, actor, Groucho Marx, sort of his name, his character name. Anyway, look that up. I mean, that's like a whole nother show. But I also always think of a banana is comedy in my vocabulary. So, to see these glasses, to me, meant comedy, and I already informed us all, we're working in fantasy. I kind of toned that back and just said disguise, which is something, but now we're seeing a real origin of this, which again is just, I don't know, something for kids to treat with. Maybe instead of buying bubble gum, they want this. I remember like whoopee cushions were sometimes that something, and then I'm throwing this out. I think I've already mentioned this in an episode, but what about not paper planes, but like model planes that could be made out of like really thick paper or like styrofoam or balsa wood, and you would just buy that for like $1.50, up and down, whatever that is. But if you remember that, or you had a little spot, because where would you get that at? Sometimes a concession stand, or what about a record store, comic book store? All types of places had. Ice Cream Man might have had that stuff. Anyway, it is interesting that ingredients like this are in this type of movie, but that's why we love this stuff on TMCMS, where it's just like, what are all these goodies? And it adds up to, sometimes, a real goodie, right? Follow me. Gus wears the glasses and heads to the kitchen. Inspection here! A chef puts out a sock? And Gus asks about the Yankee beans? Barbecue shack maybe? $10 fine, $20 fine. Gus is playing a dumbass disguise, but he's just like huffing his voice up, and everybody's playing along, and I guess that's just the fun of this movie. These things have always been on my mind when I watch it, and since I've watched it, there are no answers. It's just dang fun. FLEA is acting a fool to find a hose, and a real inspector has asked what's going on here. I have a very important job. I have been paid already. The couple is creepy. Gus steals gasoline from the couple's car. Gus and FLEA fumble over closer, and doomed Gus is caught by the nasty couple. Dang! A little 1989 Batman Joker. They have whacked him in the eye, And now, Koki, they are lurching over him, his eyes bleeding. Farts. Let's teach this puke a lesson. These are awful, awful people. One guy I notice is from Seinfeld. The lady, Mary Woronov. I want to continue with their scene. I don't know what the hell you're talking about. His eye looks bad. Please, get a doctor. I admit I hit him. He's not our son, they're telling the doctor. I will have to operate. He will lose his sight. I guess it's our choice, right? What? They are not the true guardians? How is it their choice? Obviously, they've just kind of taken control of everything and are pressuring torture on this young man. I guess he will have to lose his sight. One of the scariest lines ever heard because it builds character. A gun is seen framed over their bed. We forgot to ask you about patches. Gus dreams of DrewBarrymore as fantasy girl. MOTORAMA. You haven't won yet. LOL. Wakes screaming with an eye patch. They smeared lipstick on him. Daryl says you can keep the gas. This again is sensational, and it seems to be a trope from pulp paperbacks. They're sort of sweaty. He's woken up clearly from some sort of coma. There is lipstick smeared. Obviously, he's been through a lot. This could be blood. He's been patched up. He went through some sort of surgery. This is all just quick mind-bending editing. Just frame to frame to frame. Obviously, very, very modern, very MTV. It's awful. These people are awful. We don't know clearly what they did to him. Thankfully, he's a bit patched up, and this, hungover, in a bad way, lady is sort of hanging over him from a bed. Not to get myself in trouble, but there is a clear difference between where Gus is and where her and her husband, criminals they may be, she just is sort of leaning over as they're passed out, saying, keep the gas, get your ass out of here. Gus washes his face at a nearby abandoned fill station. The textures on this movie, the scenery, if you know me, you know street trash. I would go on and on about like the alleyways and the street trash in that movie. Night of the Comet, I really enjoyed the alleyway that Samantha, got on her motorcycle and got the hell out of there. Abandoned fill stations, these convenience stores, the nasty places Gus is taking us, and a large tire, big enough to use as a playground equipment. He is feeling mortal. He is dripping water from a filthy pool of water in a large spare tire. He wanders to a burnt-out MOTORAMA sign, billboard, gets into his red Mustang, and puts heavy weight on his custom Mighty Mouse pedals. Eye patch and an attaché of MOTORAMA cards to search. He has MO, MA lined up on his dashboard. A biker rolls up to the shack he is parked at. If we know anything from Pee-wee's Big Adventure, the official hero's journey chronicles of the 21st century, we know that you gotta have movie bikers on your side. He gets mostly common cards and decides to walk. He steps up to the shack, and under a sign that reads beer, there's a tattooed pig. None for me, thank you. I'm a vegetarian. In he goes for a cup of joe, a slice of pizza, or egg salad, or sweet potato fries. But it's on a paper plate.
Plates of food.
No Italian picnic tablecloth, just laid raw, while two bikers go to the top, arm wrestling. I don't know what all that is about, but I think I clearly illustrated with those notes. Gus is having a nice evening until Meatloaf calls Gus a pirate. Wants to hustle for $10. This Gert's memorably creepy for me. This Seidler troublemaker, Billy is like hustling through the match to win money cheating. They want this Pirates money. I'm kind of like slurring because Meatloaf is a dummy. And he's sort of like, I guess, doing a good job of a dirtbag like this. But he's like an arm wrestler. He's a hustler. And he sees a twerp and he knows how to steal some money. And he kind of just quickly forces Gus into something. If I was Gus, I'd be like, I don't owe you dick. Get the fuck away from me. And I would like shove some barbecue ribs up his nostrils. I don't like Meatloaf. I never liked his music. And I don't like bullies. And he tries to take Gus to be a fool. Gus is like, I play MOTORAMA. What the hell is that? Middle 4. Tora. Meatloaf keeps licking his fingertips after tossing Gus's arm, and at this point he spits and takes Gus to a tattoo shack and spits in his face, leaves Gus with a tattoo of Tora. Not amused, fuck these shitheads. Gus is like passed out, wakes with the sun, heads to his cruiser. With a cheap coffee, we go for a car wash. This is nice. Or, off in the distance though, some beautiful gray clouds. I have driven across country during the late summer and the scenery matches up. And again, I just applaud that this movie filmed beautiful locations. There's a lot of randomness and there are passers-by wherever he sort of stopped or even he drives past people. And there's great illustrations of just average Americans. And has anybody seen the animated movie Triplets of Belleville? It's, I believe, don't quote me, a French movie, but they illustrate Americans at one point as just like blobby, circle, overweight folks.
And the world is watching.
This young chump is saying, hey, that man has one eye. And the mom is quickly like, Tommy, go on. What's funny about that man? And the kid is so stupid. He has one eye. And the mom is just like, what? A beautiful, well-written piece and an exercise about bullying. Enter Dick Miller, playing horseshoes. Gus asks him for gas money. Now this is Dick Miller, and at the top I mentioned he's father in the woods. And after I read that on the record, my mind was just like, that's awful. That's an awful character name. Like, if you don't go into the movie, that's awful. Dick Miller has done incredible work across decades, Gremlins, and names, characters' names. But this one is Father in the Woods. It's awful. Gus asks him for gas money. I'm blown away. D. Miller was in Corf Summer and gambles with the Burger Chef. Wins free food for our hero Kenny. Passes him along a $2 bill. Here he has a small family, and we are at a pub park. He's playing horseshoes, gambling on that, with Gus. He takes him for $100. Gus beats him. D. Miller can't come up with more than that, so we hand over the $100, and that's all he has. He does some thinking as an audience. We don't necessarily know what he is thinking about. Gus exits the scene, heads back to the Mustang. Thanks a lot, Mr. D. Mills. Dick Miller turns to the picnic table that his family is sitting at and says to the two kids, want to go to the woods? We didn't see sweet Dick Miller looking at his children, and then we see him walking swiftly away, supposing that he's left them in the wild. My goodness. Gus rides away, being the hustler rather than the hustly. Will he stop at Hardee's? D. Miller pulls his wife away, and they speed off. There goes a hot dog vendor. The kids are alone and clueless. He gets a tea and throws it out into the road. The road looks like a road in Ron Burgundy. The letter card flies in the wind, lands in his hands. He was sort of ripping the cards pieces and tossing the garbage, I guess, in the road, and he was getting so many commons that he just was tossing them, and he actually got a card, went through the process, threw it out. So he's kind of stopped, and now it lands in his hands, and we get a green O. He gets out and paces the car because excited and full of energy now. He's got MOTO and MA. He gets another A. MOTOAMA. He drives away and we see some snow. He's at a Portland fill station. We do some driving here. In a little while, we see a smoking car with 2 hitchers. He does not stop. They are parent-like. And we get a map. Nowhere land. And again, I mentioned it's starting to look apocalyptic. We've been around. This is much more than the beginning of his journey. He's got so many letters now, and he's also, is bearing so many injuries and damages to not only himself and the car. So we're still riding along with him. It does seem like nowhere land, and it's definitely painted that way. We fill up and pull away. No new letters. He finds some discarded cards at an abandoned station. A dog wakes up. We drive to a cave and whiz. Damn. We drive. Like a CD-ROM out of hell. Things look a little more like Joe Dirt, and a dude that looks like Workaholics is nosying up. The R? Ventinor. Darkness. More MOTORAMA billboard, and a fiery map. Cap Ron must have had a look. He pulls to an Essex toll station, bridge, tunnel. We roll through. Los Angeles! Skid Row! Pope, all types of disgust. He gets a motel and some cheesesteak. We take a shower as old Snake Plissken, Gus, and an oil field as we pass. Fog as we pass. Michael Bay's Beverly Hills Cop 2 as we pass. We get a thunderstorm and some head bobbing. We zone out now and almost hit a semi-truck. We do keep going and zoom off the edge of the road, nose first into a large pile of gravel, mulch, road dirt. What have you? Gus tumbles out of his Mustang, trips up the hill of dirt to see where he was coming from and how this could have happened. Thunderstorms, lightning in the distance. A red car with a horn honking is nearby. Are you alive? A person has their head over their steering wheel. Starting to see some similarities of these two characters. It almost seems like this is Gus in the future as some sort of 50-year-old. Or like a 30-year-old in the 70s. Still looking for the T. He does not look good. Blood gushing from his head. He does not look good. Almost looks like an addict. I think Gus takes his own Mustang. I had always thought he took the old man's Mustang. We do now see that he's driving, and he's back at another fill station with a logo similar to his old friend's Fiddles Fill station. Here we are at a rundown industrial fill station. Watch out for Dan Aykroyd's and other bad movie plots and ideas that got made. Is it a loud alarm? Sounds like a doorbell, but it's an alarm sound. A man comes out. Is it Dan Aykroyd? No. Is it O.J. Simpson? No. It's an actor doing a character I dislike. Maybe he is deaf. Gus goes to a side sink with a dirty old mirror. We notice Gus's hair is white. He looks in the mirror and sees that he's older man. Elmer hands him a MOTORAMA card, a single card. I only get one? Elmer seems confused. The whole looking in the mirror thing just keeps reminding me of The Fly and the way he keeps looking in the mirror and deteriorating, although it's very, very off on both of these movies matching up, but just the idea of like, sometimes when a character looks in the mirror, those scenes are very creepy. And I think that's primal, that we're all looking at ourselves in the mirror. Can be shocking. Hopefully it's uplifting, that you're changing for the better. But when you're changing for the worse, in the case of an addict, but Gus is not necessarily a hardcore chemical addict. He may be hooked on a game, compensating for the loss of his family life and maybe genuine love, if he really is a young man rather than an old man. We don't really know. It's poetic, Justin. All right, well, I'm almost done with my popcorn. The card is the R. Elmer gave him an R. Just one card. Oh, he does take the older guy's car. Okay, they both have damage in the front. It is the R. I wonder if that station agent has the winning cards. And he, although maybe seemingly like doesn't have the tool set to carry out such a process, his station has the winning card. And he hands about one out at a time. So now he gave Gus... So now Gus drives, I guess, right to the MOTORAMA headquarters. Oh, wow. Wow. So Elmer gave him that card. And so he's just directly driving to the headquarters, which is almost the most modern place he enters. Out of this whole movie, it is the most modern place. He enters the front doors and starts screaming, "I've got MOTORAMA!" He most likely looks crazy. White hair, dirty clothing, security guards pulled to the side. He does not leave his name and starts looking for the office's name, like on the chart of offices in this building, which he has to jump to see. And he throws a shoe to the floor button in the elevator in order to press it. We meet a receptionist that I would see on kids' shows. She wants him to tell them the station he got the letter R and has a photo book which looks aged and basically like mugshots that are like owners of each station or the operators, which station is hilarious. I wonder if it sounds like they're asking for that one letter and maybe that's like the letter that's just not available. And it's like, okay, if you got this, that means the letter that we don't even produce was produced, which maybe is like counterfeiting MOTORAMA cards. And if he got it from Elmer, is Elmer just putting on this whole appearance to counterfeit MOTORAMA cards? It almost sounds like also that we're at the end of this track he's been on, and it's like Elmer is like the closest to MOTORAMA. I read all that in just sitting here with too many notes in front of me, but I just like this movie that much that I have always generated a lot of different thoughts. And as I go through the beats once again, my thoughts are going to come to the beginning. Or my thoughts are going to come to the top. But this mugshot book is hilarious, and the stories to be told from that book. Cool photos, too. It'd be funny to find out that, like, Sofia Coppola did the photos in that book, or something like that. Look, I've been through a lot of shit to get here. Well, did I win or not? He goes onto her desk. He is a kid or a man. Is he a kid? Or is he a man? Nobody is ever supposed to win. And she's placing him like a bag of potatoes. And it's like kind of an awesome scene to play with the scale of things, which we haven't always gotten to. That question of, is he an adult? Is he a bear? Is he a man? Or is he a boy? And she's treating him, it seems like, a boy. And she's, doing the carrying around like a bag of potatoes thing. He's obviously like out of control, which is great. And this is happening in an office space, and we haven't been that all this whole movie. So the energy is contrasting here, just to give people something to do, something to talk about. Her office window show almost like she's in the sky, all the way up to the sky. It's not like that we see any roads below her. We just see clouds, blurry clouds in her windows. And again, contrast of what we have been seeing. But maybe Phil is onto something, the one in all of that. He starts calling her out. And with the help of a security guard, they toss him out the window. And yes, he starts falling, green screen, helping all the way down to water. Water, I guess, under the water. The floor of the water, cans of food. The floor of the water. Cans of food, a gum, Skull's trash, bubbles all the way back to splashing water on his face. With a much more relieved look, we see he's headed towards the wooded area. Walking back towards the Mustang, he gets in, starts driving. We see this MOTORAMA billboard glittering as he passes by, looks at his pedals, pulls to the side, and this is all like dreamlike, like I'm explaining it. He's gone through water. It's like he's been rebirthed. He's maybe died. He's been rebirthed. Maybe in just this one shot, they're just calculating all of that. And there is this junk, and he's back to where he was rinsing his face off in the large spare tire. And I'm with you. Confusing scenery, maybe, but I kind of get it in terms of the chaos of his life is kind of maybe settling for this one moment. Maybe he's going to get some clarity. Definitely, it's very scenic, but I know I sound crazy reading it and vocalizing it from my notes. This is Fresh Face Gus, original Gus, Gus from earlier in the movie. We look at a scenic backdrop. Again, he's at this, water in the spare tire. He throws his pedals over the cliff. The custom-made pedals he made earlier in the movie, he throws them. He begins walking up the highway, thumb extended to hitch a hike. He's picked up in a station wagon. It's Robert Picardo, the sheriff in plain clothes. He's singing road songs. Dinah, won't you blow your horn? Dinah, won't you blow? Dinah, won't you blow? Dinah, won't you blow your horn? Crazy. Creative outlet. We see Phil. We're at Phil's fill station. Phil has cracked neck. He is in fully cast, in a body cast. Gus helps him with the pump and helping someone else get their gas. Help wanted signs are still up. Phil still looks cheerful. My two dads. It's just a wild, like, sunshiny ending to all of this, and it seems so silly, but I'm seeing that this kid is full of energy, imagination, durability. He's ambitious. He wants to do good. He sees all of that. He's mature. He's been through some shit, so he needs some TLC. But he needs some stuff to do. He's an active kid. And the sheriff and possibly friendship with Phil may give him that. If that's skewed, I apologize. But that's why I said creative outlet. I was just like, oh, I get it. This guy is kind of a creative thinker in a industry that you might not think that, if you're following along. Gus politely says that he's going to stay at the station and that Robert Picardo can go along his way. Picardo says, "What the hell for?" Gus looks up at the help wanted sign and says it looks like it could be a good place to work. The next week, we see Gus is changing in the mirror. He's got his hat. He's straightening and wearing a blue work overalls. He goes to meet Phil, who is sorting something outside by himself. And Phil gives him a name tag, says he's a born gas station attendant. Be fulfilled. A car pulls up. Gas is ready to help. Gus is ready to help with gas. Gus is ready to help with gas and like a package of gum. All caps. This shithead. I just won $1 million at the casino in Los Huevos. Just like that. He takes Gus's gum. He exits and starts to chew and blows a bubble. We see the bubble gum blind his shades as he is run over by a semi-truck. Money and flames fly by as Phil and Gus continue to enjoy a sunny day. Do you listen to the radio? I like to listen to music. The two friends get a little closer and Phil shows some affection by patting him on his back. with the little bit of his hand that can free itself from the body cast, as we zoom out of this movie, zooming out of Phil's filling station, an AM-style station song plays us out. Green fields for days. Please be kind. Please rewind. The Movie Club Movies Podcast. TMCMS uncovered a crucial recording left. TMCMS Investigation Agent Henderson back again with more info on the whereabouts of Regina and Samantha Belmont's father. He has been making his way from Southeast Asia to the west coast of Northern America. We have found through numerous reports he is in the misty forests of North America, making his way down the coast of Washington, headed south, making his way across the world, headed back to the valley, just to see if they're all right. He's seeking his daughters who have become actresses and have retired. Captain Belmont, if you're listening or can maintain your communication with the outside world, I cannot show you to your daughters. I can show you that they have popular movies of the past after the comet. Have you seen Weekend at Bernie's? We have followed up with a message replied to Agent Henderson at TMCMS offices. It is simple and to the point. No, he says, I spent a weekend in Bermuda 40 years ago! Exclamation mark. Agent Henderson with a final comment. Okay, maybe zero, boys? Resend. TMCMS has exclusive information regarding his whereabouts.